Hello and good afternoon. Welcome to Voice for Her as the preacher's wife. Did y'all miss us? Did y'all miss me? I'm so excited to not be here by myself this week. I am, when I say beyond excited, because this is my girl. This is my girl from Delaware. Oh my God. If you know me, you know that I talk often about Lady Mel. Lady Mel, who is not just a blogger, she is an entrepreneur, she is a feminist, she is a content creator, she is a leading lady. Not only is she all of these things, sis got letters behind her name. But I'm going to let her give you all those letters and all the things that they mean when I allow her to introduce herself. But if you would just real quick, as you jump on, and I'm going to do it and ask Lady Mel to do it as well, quickly share. Share if you haven't already subscribed. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you like us. Make sure you love us. Um, so we're just going to take a second because I can't multitask, y'all.
Neither can I. I'm like,
See,
oh, okay, hold on. And I'm rubbing the dog so he don't start barking.
yeah, you gotta do it all. You gotta
Yeah.
do it all while making sure that we keep everybody's attention that is on and that will come on because within the first few seconds, if you're not talking about something,
That's
they're
right.
not gonna stay on.
That's
They're
right. We
not gonna
gotta get
stay
it
on.
together.
Yes, yes. So I am getting ready to share um on on my social media. I'm going to share in Voice for Her. When my Voice for Her sisters come in, if you will throw up your green hearts so we can make sure that you are in the building and we see you. We are so ready. I've been anticipating this all week. All right. You all shared out?
Okay. I
Got
think
all
I
your
did.
shares?
Yeah. I tried.
All right. So, Lady Mel, do us a favor and introduce yourself.
Okay. So I am Melanie Bryant Hurst. I am First Lady at Bethel AME Church, Wilmington, Delaware, where my husband, Reverend Dr. Stanley Hurst, the second is senior pastor. And we have been here for 2.5 years. We're in year three. And so we are AME. So our denomination is the African Methodist Episcopal Church, and we are itinerant. I say we, it's really him, it ain't me. And so because of that, we move from charge to charge as our bishop sees fit. And so I'm originally from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I can never, you can take the girl out of Philly, but you can't take the Philly out of the girl. You know what I mean? I might say John a couple times on here. That's just what we do. So I'm originally from Philly. And when my husband and I got married in 2017, we moved to Jersey City, New Jersey, which is right outside of New York City. We were there for 4 years. And then we came here in 2021. So that is that. Okay. So I am a first lady. I enjoy it. Okay, we'll get into that. And outside of that though, I am a clinically trained social worker. I have my MSW in social work. And I'm currently finishing up my PhD in social work. So that's what I did before I met my husband. So I teach at the BSW level, at the MSW level, and I currently went into business for myself. I never thought in a million years that would be what I had just kind of done on the side would be like my full-time gig, but I enjoy the work that I do. I'm a mom. I have a 3-year-old daughter named Shia. She is the love of my life. And overall, I like to have a good time. I say this often. I was not called to be a first lady. In the Bible, it's no calling to be a first lady. I understand, though, that our title is largely based on tradition in our culture. in our culture, because in white churches, depending on the tradition, the culture, white first ladies are not necessarily a big deal. But in our culture and in our context, we have a role, we have a purpose, and we have a responsibility. And so in marrying my husband, I agreed to be in partnership with him. And so I fulfilled those duties. I do what I love. I love people. I love Jesus. And so it makes it easier for me to be able to navigate in that space. So that's kind of a little bit about me. I like to travel. I don't as often as I want to. Like I just go through my phone and look at pictures of Jamaica. I mean, seriously, like for the last couple of weeks, because I need to go somewhere. All right. It's cold here. It's snowing, kind of, not really. I got to get up out of here. Okay. So yeah, so that's me, a little bit about me.
Little bit about me.
About me.
So I want to jump into a couple of things because you covered a lot. Number one, I want to cover the fact that sis, you're going to have a whole PhD. Wait a minute, you're getting ready to, or you have?
So I'm editing my dissertation. So I have gone through the process. So what they call it is ABD. So right now I'm all but dissertation. So I'm going through edits. I have to actually go through my defense. And once I go through my defense and it's approved, I will officially have a PhD in social work. It has been a long time coming. It has been one of the most challenging things that I've had to do, because it is really a testament to keeping your head down and just grinding and doing the work. And so it has been delayed, but definitely I know that God is not going to deny it from me. He allowed me to start it. He allowed me to progress through to this point. And so it's at this point just trying to cross the finish line and get it done.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. We got us a hold up in the house. I am excited about you becoming a doctor. Also, can we talk about the denomination that you're in? I'm jumping straight into this whole first lady thing.
Let's
The
do it.
denomination that you're in. So there are, I believe, 3 other ladies in Voice for Her who are part of this AME, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you all tell us about this placement.
So the AME Church is technically the oldest Black denomination in the country. And so Bishop Richard Allen, who was the first bishop of the AME Church, and that name should be familiar to people as like a figure in Black history, followed the model like Paul did. Now, listen, let me tell y'all, I am not a biblical scholar. Okay.
You're telling me.
I know stuff.
Yeah.
But I might get the names wrong. I might get the book wrong. But Paul, okay,
Yeah.
or something, they moved from place to place, right? Like that was the model. So they moved from church to church, from location to location to spread the good news of Jesus. And so in that vein, and that's the foundation of Methodism, period. But in that vein, in the AME denomination, it's that same context. So the context is you go to a place, you serve, and then you get moved from place to place. Now there is a little deeper to it, because once you land at a certain church, then typically you can stay there, you can kind of build. There's no, like it's not like a move every day. Typically our bishops let us know, before the move happens. It's not a lot of time. It's not a lot of time. Sometimes it could be a few weeks. Honestly, this last move from Jersey City to Delaware, we were not expecting it. We did not know it was going to happen. We kind of heard rumblings about it, but again, nothing is finalized until the bishop calls it out, the day that he calls it out. And so we kind of said, well, God, if whatever you want us to do, we'll do. Mm-hmm. And so the week before, we had a meeting where the bishop was going to actually do the assignment. And he called my husband and said, I'm going to move you. He said, I'm going to move you on Thursday. So this was maybe a Monday. He said, so I'm going to assign you on Thursday at the meeting. The Sunday that was coming up, he said, I want you to go back to your congregation to let them know you're leaving. And then the following Sunday, I want you to show up at your new charge. And so it has happened that literally, if the meeting happens and wraps up on a Saturday, which they typically do when appointments are made, that following day, we go to the new charge. That's what happened when we got married. We went to a meeting. The bishop assigned us on a Saturday. We got a hotel, packed our bags, and went to Jersey City to be in church on Sunday morning. And we commuted back and forth from Philly for a while until we finally settled in Jersey City. So that is that's kind of the norm. And I grew up United Methodist, so it's not unfamiliar to me.
Mhm.
And so it's odd to a lot of people, like, whoa, what you mean? You just literally, we just pack and move. And so for me, it has been a sacrifice. I mean, it has been a sacrifice.
Right. I
Okay.
think so. It's like once you get settled here, there's a possibility you may, have to move. So my next question is how do you develop relationships with the members as the pastor's wife, as the first lady, when you never know like when you could be moving away? And tell us about like the experience, how it felt when you had to leave from Philly to
So
go to Delaware.
So my husband has been pastoring about maybe 8 years or 10 years before we met. So he was used to it. Again, I had some context because I grew up Methodist. And the biggest thing for me, and this is just how I live my life, but literally love God, love people, and be authentic with people. And so when I go into churches, I am my full self. I don't allow other people to put expectations on who they think I should be. That's
Yeah.
not going to happen. And because I'm able to operate in my own authentic truth and my own authentic self, that allows me to be connected to people, um, while understanding it's a boundary, because of not just the itineracy, but there's just a boundary because I'm the first lady. Now, that
Mhm.
doesn't mean that I'm not authentic. That doesn't mean I'm not genuine. But
Yeah.
because of the position and the role that I play, everybody can't be close to me. Everybody can't know everything. I can't share everything.
Right.
And some people, and it is what it is, but some people think like, oh, it's the first lady. Let's get in her ear. We'll get to the pastor. No, you ain't, because I ain't. First of all, I'm gonna redirect you. Don't come to me with nothing. I don't know. I really don't. Don't come to me with nothing. Look, what I say. Of course, I'm a first lady.
Ah,
Don't ask me nothing about nothing. I really don't know.
that was the first thing I thought about. It was
Yeah, like, don't ask me no
Lady,
question.
Lady
Um,
Gamble from South Carolina. She's the one who did the "Don't ask me about nothing." Didn't she put the period on the end?
I'm sorry. I have a Bichon who thinks that he is a Rottweiler. Um,
Oh,
this is what he does, and so I'm gonna probably have to pick him up like a baby and cradle him during the rest of this interview. Yeah, let me just pick him
oh,
up. Hi,
well,
this is Simba.
oh.
Simba, say hi
Hi,
to.
Simba's missing Shia.
Anyway, Simba about to get put out. So I mean, when you walk in authenticity, again, you can have authentic relationships with people. When we were moved from Jersey City to Delaware, it was heartbreaking, and a large part of it was because we were in COVID, and
Mhm.
so we had not seen people for almost 2 years.
Yeah.
And so the church had not fully opened back up. We were still doing like virtual services with only select people in the building, like the choir, the pastor. I would come every once in a while because I had my daughter, and we were moved. And so it was heart wrenching for me. Now, I'll tell you where it really makes the difference. It really makes the difference. I call them my babies, the young people. That is what every time, that is what kills me. I mean, honestly, because they have, and I remember my first lady from when I was younger, when I was growing up, and it's something special about that connection as a young person with your first lady. And I try to be that same way. And so having to leave them was really hard. The transition in COVID with my daughter being so young,
Mhm.
um, that was really hard. That was hard. We did get the opportunity. And what happens in the AME church is we have something called pastoral interference. And so pastors are, like they're held to our discipline and rules of the church. And so when you move, the respectful thing to do is to leave to allow the new pastor to develop relationships and have those, and do what they need to do to further the church. So we take that seriously. We're not calling people, so
Wait.
like,
Wait, stop. So you're telling me, before I go there, hello to the four that have jumped on. Please make sure that y'all say something in the comments so we can see who you are. Again, if you're one of the Voice for Her ladies, please put your green hearts in the comments. So back to what you were saying. You're telling me that as a old pastor, it is suggested or strongly urged that you get out the way so you don't hinder the influence of the new leader.
Yep.
I love that, and I appreciate that from the AME church, because in our other churches, all the other denominations, I won't speak for everybody's experience, but from a lot of the data that I've collected through the other ladies, as well as we have a whole survey. So we are not speaking just on our experience alone. We're speaking on actual data as well, from different pastors' wives. And so I don't see it often, let alone hear of transition where former pastors do like this and allow new pastors to actually pastor and to actually develop relationship with these people, but instead they are still like holding on, and it makes it so hard.
That is for pastors. It's called like I said, pastoral interference. And if a pastor feels like a former pastor is interfering, they can go to the bishop, and that would start like a judicial process in our church where the pastor who is infringing on the other pastor could, get charges. And so it's consequences for that. Now, does it happen? Absolutely. But in our context, we're not, because there, again, certain things, depending on the relationships that you've had in the church, there are certain people that will just be lifelong people in your life. And it is what it is. And I understand that. When we went in, we followed a pastor who was there. And even in our context now, we followed a pastor who was there for over 20 years. Of course, they have relationships with people. Of course, they have married people and baptized babies and buried people. And so we respect that and we understand that. But I have seen my husband say, I will come back to, especially with funerals. I'll come back to do this many, but I'm not doing any more. There's been times and we've seen it because at our old church, a person who had been there, who was raised by the former pastor, wanted him to marry her. Of course, absolutely. Yeah. So again, it's a fine line. But if you do anything that interferes with the business of the church, that's problematic. That's problematic. And for me as a first lady, I'm not held to to the discipline. I ain't the pastor, but I honor that and I respect that in the same way that my husband does. Right. And I don't interfere. Like, I'm not calling about church business. Don't tell me nothing about your church business, because I don't want to hear nothing about my church business. So please don't tell me nothing about your church business, even though I was there. Yeah, I'm not going to entertain that. Now, again, personal relationships. So, for example, we had a family that we got really close to after they lost their newborn baby. That's a lifetime connection. That's an experience and a connection that bonded us in a way that I never could have imagined. Yeah. So we keep in touch if we see them, if they're there, we might plan or whatever. But again, that's separate and apart for what's happening in church. We really do honor that.
Absolutely. Yeah. One thing I can agree with, developing relationships with people and it being outside of ministry. Definitely agree with it. Christina Gordon said, "Hey, Lady D, hey, Lady Mel," and so I can totally agree with that. Have your relationships, but it's the interference with the
Yes.
business side. Yeah, that's a whole problem.
Like, well,
And
what the trustees doing? Child, ain't nobody, look, what?
or the
It,
pastor say one thing and you say something totally different, and you have the people trying to figure out who do we listen
who do
to.
we listen to? Right. And that's
And
problematic.
it is problematic, but it exists. And I would love to see more churches adopt, because we do mix. We take on other people, a little piece of here, a little piece of there, and we mix. That would be a good thing to take from the AMEs.
Girl, I'm gonna send you a copy of the little discipline that talks about it. You can take it to who you need to. Okay.
Lord. My husband gonna be like, why did she give her that? If you are
Just make a
on
photocopy.
right now,
I'm gonna send it to you, like scan it. You know, girl, I got you. I got
if
you.
you are on my forever, just know it's Lady Mel's fault, not mine. She brought it up.
I
She
did.
said she was gonna send it. So when
Send
I
it.
come and I be like, what you think about this?
I'm
But
send
that's one thing we said, that even when my husband transitions out from being the pastor of our church, we have to make it clear, because there's so many pastors that just pop up now. Everybody pastor, you got the custodian pastor, you got the internet pastor, you got the campus, all the pastors. But when my husband transitions from the pastor, one thing we always said we were gonna do was give them space, give them time, and if we do pop up, let it be for like a church anniversary. You know what I'm saying? And not be so engulfed with, they're gonna forget about me. The one thing I'll say that we push to do, in our case, because my husband was appointed after the founder, and so the thing was, we made sure, we tried our hardest to make sure that we honored, we had things, we made sure that certain things stayed in place, just to make it a little bit easier. And so the thing is, I think sometimes as people get older, because they sacrifice so much, because they're different from us as millennials, we have more balance than they do. We don't necessarily sacrifice vacation and family and education and hobbies for the sake of just all in. You know what I'm saying? But we have some balance, because at the end of the day, one day you're not going to be doing this.
Right. Yep.
And I wouldn't want to be a pastor and I have sacrificed my family. I've lost my family. I never did anything outside of church. And then once I retire, I'm sitting around with nothing to do. I'm twiddling my thumbs.
Yeah.
Like, your children may not want to have anything to do with you because they mad because that's all you did. You didn't really invest in your relationship as a father, your wife. You didn't invest in your marriage, and even you did not nurture the part of you outside of church.
Absolutely. That is, in terms of, I was clear that when I married my husband. Now, first of all, I spent a couple months trying to get rid of him. I am not gonna lie. I did not want to marry a pastor. I did not want to marry a pastor. I mean, I was like, oh no, you don't like me. He said, I think I like you. No, you don't. No, you don't. I don't know who you talk to. It's not gonna happen. And because again, I knew that there were people were going to have expectations.
Yeah.
And I know the type of person that I have grown to become in my own self, professionally. And I did not want to necessarily sacrifice those things for willy-nilly people. I just didn't want to.
Yeah.
And so he made it clear to me, I'm not interested in marrying a first lady. I'm interested in marrying a wife. I want a wife, not a first lady. And so he and I had those conversations of what our life would look like together in ministry, so that he could respect everything that I was, everything that I am, and everything that I will be throughout the course of his ministry. I respect him and I love him. And there are things that we are in partnership for. And we, but when it comes to church business, That is his lane. I would not want him to come to my job and
Yeah.
be opening up books and commenting to people on stuff that he don't know nothing about and
Right.
giving advice and all. What are you doing? And so I respect that boundary line with him. The things in the AME church as a first lady, one of the things that we do is we are the advisor to our women's missionary society. That is the one thing, like per discipline, that they ask us to do, and still some first ladies don't do it, and that's okay. And I do that, and it meshes with the work that I do as a social worker, as a community a community practitioner. I teach community practice. I'm involved in social advocacy and justice. So those things work together for the work of missions. But
Yeah.
if they were building cars, I wouldn't be a part of that. I don't build no cars. I ain't gonna do it. I'm not gonna do it. If it was the first lady is responsible for being a part of the car building ministry, not gonna do it. That's not my lane.
Right.
And so, but my husband respected me enough to be able to say, I understand that. And I'm not looking for you to give up everything and become so enmeshed that you lose yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
He was good with that. And that made me say, all right, let me give you a little try. You know what I'm saying? And he has honored that. He has honored that. And there are difficulties, the church schedule, because we're a connectional church. So it's not just our local church, it's churches in our district, it's churches in our connection. So that's the AME Church Worldwide, which includes the Bahamas and Canada and India and Africa. So there are certain things that he is required to be at. And we make it work. We make it work because I have a flexible schedule now. Thank you, Jesus. I'm able to say, like, hey, he has a hotel room. I'll pay for my flight. He gets that paid for as a part of his compensation because he's required to go. But I go for just the ride. Like I'll just go, and that allows us the time to kind of connect and all that other stuff. But I'm telling you, I'm going to Jamaica, and he coming. I don't know where we're going to put the girl. I don't know.
She's going to Jamaica.
I don't know where we putting the girl. My mom calling me every day, like, girl, it's a travel warning in Jamaica. They killing people. I'm like, Mom, we from Philly. They kill people every 3 seconds. I'm all right in Jamaica.
We managed to be okay. We managed to be okay.
I don't care what you say. I'm going to Jamaica. So but my husband and I, we haven't had a vacation since 2019. Now, of course, COVID hit. I was pregnant in 2020 when we were in the height of COVID. So my daughter is a COVID baby. And so we've not really been on any, and then we were transitioning so much. But we try to work that out. Like, this girl got to go. So, and my parents are older. So his parents are older. My parents are old. My mother is older. My dad is deceased. So it's like, well, who gonna watch the kid? Because they be like, oh, we need 3 years notice, And then after they watch it for 1 week, and they be like, we need like 6 months to recover. So, yeah. But I'm going to Jamaica. Okay. I'm letting you know, and the world and everybody else, I'm going to Jamaica. Okay.
She's going to Jamaica.
We going to Jamaica.
You might have to go with her. We might have to go with her. One thing I want to rewind back to that you said, it struck it reminded me of a post that I saw on TikTok, which was you said that when your husband married you, he married you, and he wasn't looking for a first lady, but he married you for you. Mm-hmm. I saw a TikTok video, and I shared it in the group, and we had a mini discussion on it, which was a man saying that when he's looking for a wife as a pastor, that he's looking for a first lady. And my issue with that was, you're not gonna always be pastoring, and to look for somebody who is good for the church and may not be good for you. I think you're setting yourself up for failure. I think Absolutely. You're setting yourself up for failure. So to hear that your spouse was looking for the opposite and even got it,
Mhm.
in you. And like you said, you add to the ministry being with the women, and it's something that you naturally, this is something that
Absolutely.
you naturally do. You're gifted to do. You're interested, in those things. And I believe that um, even when it comes down to what we do in ministry, it is important that it's not forced,
Absolutely.
but it's natural. I remember it was somewhat of a culture shock because I'm the areas of ministry that I operate in, one being out in the open because I do praise and worship. And well, I'm the minister of music. I do praise and worship. I direct choirs. I do all of that, but on the back end, I teach the choir. I don't
Mhm.
really teach the praise team. Them jokers is self-taught. And I
Girl, you
appreciate
better go ahead, girl.
I appreciate that. And
Look at
so,
the live
but
stream and see you cutting up. Thank you, Lord, for live stream doing the
my
best.
God, no. And so, but they don't see the behind the scenes. They
Yeah.
don't see me praying and struggling. Like, what are we going to sing that's going to line up with what you've given even our leader? I told my husband, I love the fact that we don't discuss his message in our home.
Oh yeah, no.
We don't discuss his message, and I a lot of times don't even tell him what we're singing. But then he gets right up behind the praise team or the choir, and he's like, the choir just preached my message, or like the choir tried to tell y'all, or the praise team told y'all earlier. You know, it's more than just, oh, they getting up there singing, oh, that she just pick out songs. No, I'm trying to make sure that everything that we do, it lines up with the flow of this house, the vision for this house. And so that was a culture shock because the former first lady she worked behind the scenes. And so that was a culture shock for them to see somebody who was so outward.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm like, I'm not going to stop being who I am. I'm not going to stop operating in what God has gifted me in just because it's not something you used to.
Right. Absolutely.
That makes me not be authentic. And
Absolutely.
I gotta answer to God why I ain't doing what I'm supposed to be doing.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? And so to hear, even how what you do in ministry and what you do outside, the way that they are married,
yeah,
is a good thing because everybody doesn't have that.
Yeah. It's interesting because the fact of the matter is, and it goes the other way. Not only is the pastor not always going to be a pastor because retirement and all this other stuff, I have seen first ladies lose their spouse. They're not a first lady anymore.
That's right.
It's done. It's done. And so and here's the truth about our culture as Black folk. We recognize, again, the role of the church has been so significant in our culture.
Absolutely.
Because it was the only place where, and it's still the most segregated place, which I'm fine with, I'm gonna be honest. But it was the safe space for us. And the church, you're working with me. I'm not. And let me back up and say this. I went to I was United Methodist. And when I was in college, I was in Reading, Pennsylvania, which at one point had the largest number of active Klan members. All right. So I went to a United Methodist church. Our pastor was Black. I had known him. His wife was my undergraduate professor. And I went to that church. Mm-hmm. It was hell. And I said, never again will I, for the sake of saying I am being diverse, for the sake of me, I don't have to prove anything. I'm a minority in this country. I don't have to prove anything. I will never do that again. It was the most unsafe space for me as a Black woman. The thing about it is, and when we look at race in this country, white people are okay with worshiping with Black people as long as we assimilate to their style. White people are okay with a Black pastor as long as the Black pastor is assimilating to what they need. Let that Black pastor start talking about Black identity and politics from a perspective that's biblical, because Jesus was a brown man who was executed by the state. So we're not even going to get into that. But because of the racial dynamics in this country that absolutely still exist, it only works when, as Black people, we are assimilating in some way to the majority and what their needs are in terms of worship.
Mm-hmm.
And so I am very much okay with saying that is not a diverse congregation is not a safe space for me. Not going to do it. Now, are there some spaces, and I've had this conversation with other people, and they're like, but how can we move to racial healing and all this other? I hear you. That is not my plight. And I'm not taking that on. That is for those people who, that is a beautiful thing. Ain't for me. Because I'm coming up in there with Ebonics, AAVE. Not for me. Not for me. Okay. I can't do it. But anywho, who's that going to whatever we was talking about?
No. That's a good subject because, and I just actually take somebody who I battle with probably on a weekly basis about diversity when it comes to church. And I'll put that out there, he always is like dogging me about being so closed, or the fact that I may sing a song and I'll say, yeah, so and so, I got this from so and so. Oh, that's from this CCM artist or this country artist. And I'm saying, oh, I don't care who it came from. The version that I'm singing is what I heard from so-and-so church or so-and-so church. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It ain't my job to figure out the origin of this song. Like, it's I'm faking it. So when you just said that you're okay with that, during a time period where you do have a whole lot of people that's like, especially us, Black people, we're always wanting to do the, we should be doing this and we should be doing that. I just be wondering, what exactly are they doing?
See, because we've been gaslit or gaslighted, whatever, to believe that it's our responsibility to ensure that racial healing happens. It is not. That is the role of the oppressor. So it is for them to have discussion with their peers in safe spaces where they can confront and challenge each other to do differently and to do better. That is not my role. That is not my responsibility. And there are some people who are called to do that work. Like I said, ain't me, ain't gonna be me unless the Lord had to come and stand in sackcloth and ashes in front of me. What? And I got to take pictures for the gram or something, because it will not be me. You know what I mean? I don't have to prove that at this point in my life. And the more, and I teach social policy. So the more that I teach and unpack, even with students, about this country's history with racism, and now the gaslighting has been taken to another level, with Trump's presidency. And it's just like, it's not our role to salve it. And they say they gaslight us into believing that when we talk about it, oh my gosh, you're being racist. We can't be racist because racism is a structure of power in this country. So that can't even happen. And it ain't like we don't like the people. It's that I am not going to subject myself for what? Because you're gaslighting me anyway to make me believe that I'm the problem. I'm not doing it. And I'm going to call it out every single time. That's just the way that I operate. So, when it comes to CCM, I think I like one CCM song. And let me say, because even the history, and I don't care, but even the history of CCM and the gospel that we sing, it's a different emotional experience because of what we went through at the time those songs were recorded, so. Right. And I'm talking about spirituals though, because hymns are completely different. Yeah. So it's just interesting to see the dynamics of our churches in this country and where we're going to stand in terms of what are we going to talk about, if we're going to talk about what's comfortable. And let's be clear, white look, white folk have whitewashed that Bible. Okay. Jesus was a brown, and Jesus was a brown. When Jesus fled from Herod, he went to Africa to blend in, so he wouldn't be found. Blonde hair, blue eyed Jesus wouldn't be blending in no Africa. Come on. So, but again, that's the dynamics of the society that we live in. So anyway, let me get off my soapbox, girl, because I stick on this forever.
When I say you own it,
Yeah.
but I'm so here
on this
for
for
it.
life.
But I'm so here for it. Have at it. Have at it. So just to bring us back to, because we are getting, at this point, we're getting a philosopher, Lady Mel. At this point, I'm here for it, Lady Mel. Christina Gordon would be here for this. She is here for all your shenanigans.
This wasn't even the questions. Like, girl, get to the questions.
We were talking about segregation. We were talking about segregation in church. That's it. Okay, so the part I do want to make sure we jump in on, because there's so much that we could go rewind back to, and I really want to, but I have purposed it in my heart to make sure that I hit this 45 to 50 minute mark, because the people's time span, it ain't long no more.
Yeah, it ain't long at all.
Even though I can do this all day with you. And so I want to talk about you. How did Ask the Preacher's Wife come about?
So this was at a time in my life where I was honestly struggling to figure out what I was going to do, as I'm this first lady. You know, again, we had relocated. At the time, I had lost my job in DC, and I was really struggling. I'm in this city where it's not like I can say, hey, let me go find a job and do this. And so I was really struggling with, like, what am I going to do? So initially it was going to be like, yeah, I'm going to write with a pen name, and I'm going to just put everything out there. Everything that I'm mad about, I'm going to just put out there anonymously. And yeah. And then it kind of morphed on its own to people coming to ask questions. Now, I had done a radio segment with my cousin, who is a journalist, an author. He does a radio broadcast in Philly. So he's well known in Philadelphia. And I did a segment called Ask the Preacher's Wife, and it was funny. You know, so he asked questions like about, like, you know, what you going to bring to the church potluck, whose food don't you eat, stuff like that. So that's where the name came from. And the thought was that it would kind of stay along those lines a little bit, but I would be kind of like a pen name behind. So I had all of these ideas coming up, and people started asking me in real life, younger women, like, listen, because when I got married to my husband, again, that's when you walk in your truth and your authentic self. You develop relationships with other people. So these were other young women that were not necessarily members of my church. Were like, oh, you're like big sister. I'm like, okay, cool, you know, whatever. They would start coming to confide in me and to ask me questions. And so I'm like, you know what? That's a really good question. Can I answer this? I'll do it anonymously, blah, blah, blah. And so the blog, and if you look at like early stuff, I was talking about being a vegan, child, that ain't last long. You know, and then it kind of moved into this asking type questions thing. And so what I was able to do with it, I realized, like, oh, this is ministry, because it was asking those questions that people were legit afraid to ask, had never asked, or had asked and felt shamed in why are you asking that, particularly around issues about sex and sexuality and dating and relationships, and how do we navigate life as Christians living in this world, and we're in this context of holiness is right and all of these other things. How do we navigate all of that? And the fact of the matter is, it's literally in the Bible. And so I was able to mix my love for justice, my clinical social work skills, and theology. And a lot of times my husband came in to help with those pieces, to really be able to provide people with some answers to like serious questions. And it's so crazy because the most read blog post is about masturbation. And I had a church mother call me after that and said, take it down. I said, I'm not, because the thing is, we're not having these conversations. These kids think they're going to go blind. They're going to go to hell if they masturbate, because we're not having conversations about sexuality and healthy sexuality. And so they're forced to learn it from the world, not from in the context where they should, from the context of where they should, which is a biblical perspective. And I'm going to talk about it. So that's kind of how Ask the Preacher's Wife kind of came along. And I've answered questions like about soul ties and all these other things and yada yada yada, blah blah blah. So it became a form of ministry that I love to do, that I still do every once in a while in terms of blogging. I'm more so on social media with it. Well, actually, Facebook, Instagram, I just can't get with. I just can't. But people still find value in it. And so I'm grateful that God allowed me to kind of have that avenue into ministry, which is different from what traditional ministry looks like.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. One thing I'll say, and you mentioned it, and I want you to, moving forward, understand that you made it possible for us not to be in this space anymore, which is, we often say people aren't talking about this, people aren't addressing this. But because you did address it, because you did create this space, because you have created this space, we can't say it no more that people aren't talking about it, because you are talking about it. Just like for the longest, it was, we don't talk about therapy in the Black community. We don't talk about therapy in the Black church. Yes, we do. Now, some churches got whole therapists on staff. You know what I'm saying? So just moving forward, we can say that even if you're the only person that that has addressed it, even as a first lady, you did tackle sexuality.
Absolutely.
And that's big. And you're still doing it. Yep. That's big. I think it's important for people to know where to go. Maybe the church that you attend, they're not going to have an all-out conversation. I can't remember what pastor it was because I don't watch him anyway. Well, he was. But I saw the post where he had a whole bed in the pulpit. That's a bit much for me. I ain't interested in no bed in the pulpit. However, if you want to have a conversation on a Friday, on a Saturday, in the fellowship hall, or better yet, not even at the church, and we tackle that, sure, but don't waste my Sunday morning.
Like Sunday morning it's about worship. It's about worship and the gospel going out.
That's right.
Not for no live demonstrations or whatever. I don't know. But I've been blessed with Ask the Preacher's Wife. So now folk call me to do workshops. I've done workshops for other churches. Most recently I did one about suicide, and I talked to the young people. And of course, the first question is, I've been depressed and I've thought about suicide, but am I going to go to hell? And it's just like we preach these babies into hell, and it's just like, what? And a lot of the stuff, and I'm not arguing about people's theology, because you will hear, different people might have different perspectives or whatever, but at the end of it, we also can tackle mental health issues.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? Like, no, and I said it, no. The Bible is clear. Nothing depth nor height nor whatever is somewhere in there can separate you from the love of God. Like, that's real. And Jesus, John 3:16 and 17 did not give conditions. For those who, what's the thing? If you love the Lord, what is it? Girl, for God so loved the world
that he gave his only begotten Son,
and whomsoever shall believe in him will
not perish but have shall not perish but have everlasting life.
It wasn't conditions on that. It wasn't but only if you are good mentally. It wasn't only if you only eat certain foods and don't mix materials and all these other things. And so we have been so legalistic in our understanding of who God is that we forget that we are supposed to be renewed and transformed in our mind by the working of the Holy Spirit. And so many times we don't allow that to happen because we preaching people straight into hell. And that's not what we supposed to be doing. It ain't. Holding each other accountable is one thing. Preaching people to hell?
Absolutely.
What? Paul wasn't doing that. Don't let me go to some book in the Bible and find out what Paul was talking about. Anyway,
Why some book?
Somewhere in Ephesians.
I am so done.
Somewhere in Galatians. He was talking about something over there in Galatians.
He was called. Pastor was called.
There you go. Pastor Paul was over there, in Ephesus. All right.
He was doing the thing. So here we are.
Mm-hmm.
Here we are. You this last part I want to bring in. Not only have you been in social work, not only have you created as the preacher's wife, and we will make sure that we drop that in the comment section so you all can follow and bring her into your churches and your ministry platforms so you can have these candid conversations, because she's not gonna hold back. I'm so proud of you right now because you have done amazing. You have done amazing. Let's talk about, this is the last part. Let's talk about, and I want to say it right,
Ujima
Consulting.
Yes.
Your nonprofit.
So my business, I'm a business, so it is an LLC.
Gotcha.
But I consult for nonprofits and do some work for startups. So for business startups, I've done that work for like 15 years. And I always did it on the side. So never did I in a million years think I could do it for like a living. I just did not think that way. My mom is a boomer. And so she's very much like you go to school, you get a job, you get job security, you work it for X amount of years, you collect a pension. And so much of my mindset, even it don't feel right in my body, but so much of my mindset was focused on that's how you do it. That's how you become successful.
Mm-hmm.
And after kind of like the pandemic, I started realizing like, we're kind of on like this hamster wheel. Like we keep chasing this American dream. Don't let me get back on my soapbox. But we've done, especially as like millennials, we've checked a lot of things off the boxes, right? Like we've gone to school, we've gone to college, we've done this, we've invested, and we're not really seeing returns on our investment. We're struggling in jobs, struggling to pay back student loans. And it's just like something has got to give. And so last year I was transitioning from doing work at a nonprofit. And my husband said, you really need to start your own business. And I'm like, no, I don't want to do that. No, I don't. He's like, but listen, you've been consulting nonprofits since I met you. Why don't you just do it for a living? I'm like, well, no, I don't think I can really make money. He was the person who actually went and filed for my LLC. And I was like, why did you do that? I don't know why you did that. And it was the best thing that could have ever happened.
Yeah.
And I said, God, I want this to be ordained by you. So everything, and that's my prayer for everything. God, whatever my hands touch, allow it to be blessed by you so that you get the glory. That is my prayer for every single thing that I do, even in my role as a first lady. God, whatever you allow my hands to touch, whatever work that I do, let it be ordained by you. And I prayed that same prayer for Ujima. So we are a consulting group. So I have partners that I work with, and we cover every area of nonprofit development, from formation to accounting. I have accountants on staff. I have IT professionals, business coaches. So we are able to do a plethora of things: grant writing, program development. My specialty area, though, just in my experience, has been with religious organizations and churches. A lot of times, churches know how to write a grant, because writing a grant is not that difficult if you're a good storyteller. They get the grant, they get the money, and then they don't have a program to back it up. Then their funders are saying, hey, well, what did you do with the money? And it's like, well, we ordered pizza for our youth ministry. Now they're in trouble. And so one of the things that I am kind of moving into as a niche for me, and I do work with all types of nonprofits. I work for national nonprofit. I've done work for international nonprofits. But one of the specialty areas that I enjoy doing is working with churches to be able to not just understand grant writing, not just to get the funding, but to have strong programs, to have strong program evaluation, to be able to show funders this is what we did. And what it does is it makes a real impact in your community. A lot of churches, smaller churches specifically, don't have the money to do ministry. People think that ministry just happens out of the air. No, it takes money to do ministry. If you have a feeding program in your church and you're not connected with anybody to do it, that takes money out of somebody's pocket to do it. So in the nonprofit world, when a church has their 501c3 status, you can apply for grants to run your program. You can apply for money to run your feeding program, to run your Dress for Success, to run your, transitional housing program. So that has been my area to focus on, helping churches see what they can do, and not just for funding dollars, but to really impact the communities where they are located and to really be able to do that work. So Ujima, which is one of the principles of Kwanzaa, which means collective work and responsibility, because it's a collective of people, professionals that have all been trained and have worked in nonprofit management for years and years and years, and some in business for years. Us coming together to be able to offer tailor-made services for people who want to be a nonprofit, people who are already doing nonprofit work, and to being able to come in and really say, listen, we got you wherever you are, we got you, and we will help you get to where you want to be. So that is Ujima, and I am loving it. And God has kept his promise. I said, God is for you, and God is allowing the people to come. And that is I'm like, all right, God, you blow my mind, because I didn't expect it. And so God is absolutely faithful. And I'm so grateful for the opportunity to be able to share, especially with churches and other religious organizations, and doing that nonprofit work.
I love it. I love it. I'm excited about your future.
Thank you, Lady D.
And the future of your company, your LLC.
You.
And all of us that's going to take advantage of it. We're just moving a little on the slow side.
It's all right. Call me. I do free 30-minute consultations,
I love the fact that she put it out there. We're going to make sure that y'all get that as
free.
well.
It's free. Even though I be wanting to charge people, because they be like, okay, but it's free for now. It's free 30-minute consultations for people who are interested. And, it's so many ideas, so many things that people have been holding back on. Like, I've always wanted to do. It's like, now is the time to do it. Don't let 2024 go without you saying, I'm going to take a step towards the thing that God put in me to do. We can help you make it happen, and make it happen in the right way. Not the right way, but in the legal way. Right. So you ain't taking $5 bills under the table. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's put it on the books. You know what I'm saying?
The legit way. We are legitimate around here. We have no excuses not to be. For those of you who would prefer to deal with going through this process, even with a minority, because that's something big right now. We are big on supporting Black-owned everything. Here is a Black-owned consultant business. So, like I said, we'll definitely make sure that we add this in the comments. We will ask the preacher's wife, so you all can follow on Facebook. You all can follow on IG, even though we gonna get our IGs up, because I don't really deal with IG either.
Yeah, I'm a business owner by day. I'm like on meetings, and then at night I'm creating content. Like,
yeah.
And since I put my eyebrows on today, I'm like, let me make some reels, because I put my eyebrows on. You know what I'm saying? Wow, it's something else.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Did you see yourself here? Literally, this time last year, did you see yourself here?
No, not at all. I mean, I was struggling. Last year in work. My health had been, it's been a lot of things happening with my health. I'm anemic, and like, I'm like the woman with the issue of blood, like legit. And I share that because so many women, Black women, experience that and we don't talk about it.
Yeah.
But I was having so many health challenges and I just had to work. You know, I was working for a smaller nonprofit. So we had a small staff and I'm just like, I have to work. So I was neglecting, you know, doctor's appointments and all this other stuff. Never in a million years. And I just kept saying, God, show me. What is it that you want me to do? Show me. And I'm thinking like, okay, well, maybe I could do this and maybe I could do that. Never in a million years. But God knew the desires of my heart, that I wanted the freedom to be able to literally go anywhere and still be able to work.
Yeah.
And I just realized that recently, like, yo, I can go to Jamaica and still work. Jesus, thank
I
you.
need somebody with some flight connections
Please.
to make
Please.
this happen. Maybe y'all can work something out. I know hubby, he gonna help us out with the hotel visa.
Please, Jesus, I need help.
He gonna help, but to get the best discount, he gotta
Yes.
be there with. Look, we
Yes.
gotta be there with you for the best.
Please, let's go. Let's go to Jamaica, okay?
Lady Mel, when I say it has been a pleasure being able to, first of all, get you to settle down for this 1 hour to talk.
Girl.
Because y'all, she is the hardest to slow down.
Oh,
She is the hardest to slow down. She's truly busy. And to know that I believe we are around maybe 7 months, 6, 7 months that we met. And just it just goes to show that connections can be made anywhere. We connected online. I actually saw her one of her posts on Facebook and I reached out and I'm like, hey, but the way we be kicking it, you think that we went to high school together?
In that first conversation, I think I picked up the phone like, hey girl, listen, look, I'm sitting in the car, okay, because I had to get up.
Yes, yeah.
It was like, girl, look, look, let's talk, because I'm in the parking lot of the job. I ain't going back in.
That is exactly the way that conversation
was.
Yeah. And I said, you know what? Now this one I can get with. This one I can get with, and I have not been disappointed. I truly appreciate you just being organic. I appreciate what we have developed. I look forward to what's coming next for you while I'm appreciating what you're currently doing. And so we will definitely make sure we bring you back. I'm going to do a panel probably in May. Even if I ask, I'm sure the people will be like, yeah, make sure you bring
Listen, give me my topics because I will go off the we need a timekeeper, okay? We need somebody flashing something at the bottom like, girl, shut up, okay? So invite me, but I'm gonna do my best. I'm gonna act right, okay?
Oh man, we have to do an Aftermath exclusive.
Yes.
The people.
We ain't gonna screen that either. We ain't gonna live stream now. I don't know. We're gonna have to work it out.
No. All right, y'all. Thank y'all so much for those that have stayed with us and to the ones that will be jumping on later. We appreciate you taking this time just to hear us, just to hear our perspective. You've heard it straight from the First Lady's mouths. You have just heard the voice of Lady Mel as the preacher's wife. Y'all have a good one. We'll talk to y'all soon.
Bye.
Bye.